So this is where I'm at with the U-boat so far. And I've got the primer colour and some detail painting on the deck. But that's all going to get covered up because that will be covered with hairspray. And then I'll put the actual deck colour over that so that I can do some rubbing back and sort of scratching type effects or chipping type effects if you like, washing type effects, whatever you want to call them. So I can expose little bits of like the wood colour and the metal that's going to be underneath these parts. So the painting on that is not precise and exact, it's merely an undercoat. Now I've built all the parts up for the superstructure here. I suppose it's not really a sail, is it? These ones didn't have sails per se as modern subs, but I'm calling it the superstructure. That's all built up, all the parts are in, except for a couple of little fiddly things like the life rafts, which have, I wouldn't put them on till later. I'd paint them up and pop them on. Put them on now, they'll just get lost. I'll never be able to detail paint them, not with my fumbly fingers. Now, I've started on the machine guns, and I made this one up out of plastic, but I was a bit disappointed with it. So I hunted around for some metal barrels, but I couldn't find a metal barrel set. A bit disappointed with that. But I did find something that allowed me to make this. What do you think of that? It's not quite finished yet. Would you believe there's still about another dozen parts to go on there yet? But that took me a while. It does work, which is all due to some very tiny parts and a very, very small piece of 0.5mm brass. Yeah, but I think that is infinitely better than the plastic one. In fact, I've got some comparison pics. This is, of course, all a dry fit so far. Nothing much except for the sub-assemblies is actually spent together. And the reason is I want to keep the deck parts separate so that I can spray them the colour they need to be. But then I'll basically paint underneath that the different colour, same as the superstructure. That's a different colour. So I'll be able to hopefully do a lot of pre-painting and get everything the colour that it should be. I'd hope to not have to put in the parts inside the conning tower there and paint them up separately, but it proved to be a problem that I really needed to build that all up so it actually would fit together because I was having a few sort of problems. So that's all built up, but I want to get some wood effects in on those little pieces. So I'm going to have to spray this grey colour and then go and touch up those panels that are wood and then do all my chipping effects on top of that. Because basically there's going to be the, from the waterline upwards is a very light grey, including the conning tower, and the decks are all very dark grey, and then there's the very blue dark grey, which is the anti-fouling colour below. So with 3 greys on this, and that's why it's divided up, so everything's separate pieces. So that one's going to be fun to paint because basically they'll just all be dark grey. But hopefully this method, the same with the deck here, that's only, see, it'll pop out. That's only dry fitted as well for this reason, so that what I can do is the grey parts will all have the black styrolres on them. The decks have already been painted in the sort of woody colour, and the conning tower will have a black styrolres. That will all get covered in the hairspray to lock it in for the chipping effects, and then I can put on basically the anti-fouling grey, the lighter grey for the upper hull, and then paint all the decks their dark colours. Assemble the whole thing and then chip away and get all the lovely effects that I want. I'll show that later on this video or upcoming videos, depends how much time I've got, because next I want to assemble that other small MG out of PE. This is the little PE and brass set, which gives you quite a few other things to make that come alive. You don't get all the rails and everything. It's just the basic kit for, as they say, the metal periscopes, the 3.7cm flak, that's the big one. The 2cm one, that's the twin pair here, both with double barrels. So let's have a look at what you get. The periscopes are lovely, and if I'd got this kit before it actually built up that entire assembly, I would have used these, but it's a bit too late now. But this won't be the last 1/144th U-boat I build from Revell. It's so impressed with this kit. I think I'll get another one. I'd like to get one with the gun on the deck, the front deck. That one without the full winter garden, just the single railings behind the conning tower. But anyhow, I could save this and I could use that in another build. But the PE parts themselves, they are incredibly detailed. That's just to do inside and around the conning tower, which I'd already done, so it was too late. There's lots of little fiddly bits. Might have a tackle of those another day, but I'm too far gone with this anyway. The 3.7 flak, well, those are the parts I've used. And you can see how many more I've got to go. I don't know how many of those I managed to get on because I did lose a couple of tiny pieces to the Carpet Monster. But even with the build that I have of that PE gun, it's heaps better than the plastic in this kit. So it's very nice, very nice. If you've got the skills, you could really make this look good. And what I'm going to accomplish, well, attempt to accomplish, it shouldn't be that hard now. This is for the 2 centimetre flaks. And it sort of seems like there's a lot, but really, you're only going to use half of that on each gun, and most of it are big parts. There are some tiny little wee parts there, but I don't know if I'll need them. Because I checked the instructions, and I started over here thinking, oh, well, this one looked easy to make. It's only got one barrel. But, and this is the one that I did make, and I've really only got down to, I think I got to K. No, I did make a shield. So I got to here, basically, to this part, nearly L or whatever. Oh, they sort of ran out of letters after that. Something post K. So the shield wasn't hard to make. Some of these early parts were very easy. Making the box up to then attach the ammo to. I got all that done fairly quickly. Started getting bogged down with all of this. This was pretty hard to fold this up. Putting this pin in was a pest because it seemed like you stick it all the way through, but no. You actually only use 2 tiny pieces either side because in the middle, the guts of it, that's where the barrel has to sit. So the barrel has to traverse up and down inside that space. So you end up with very tiny little pieces that have to join to other tiny pieces. And yeah, it was, well, let's just put it this way, Bass the cat ran out of the room because of the amount of swearing. But anyhow, I kind of pushed through and I got most of this on. I lost that one. That's one that went to the Carpet Monster. Got it all folded up, holding with the tweezers, went to put it on. And that was about 1.5 millimeters in size. To give you an idea, this is just getting too bloody small. I managed to somehow build this up, although in hindsight, I would have used the plastic part here. What I made isn't bad, but I know how badly put together it is. By the time I paint and everything, you won't see half of the mistakes I made. But quite frankly, that I always substitute the plastic part. And the shield was great. That was actually one of the easiest things. After I did all that, I was feeling pretty frustrated at that point, thinking, oh, I don't know how much more I want to do. The shield actually was fairly simple. It was just a matter of folding up the little clips on there, placing the whole thing together, super gluing it, and I didn't even put all these little bits on. I think I jumped here to straight away I mounted it. So I haven't put any of these brackets on yet, and I certainly haven't put in the handles. I'll be doing those later. But the other 2 centimetre MG, well, it's just a simple box. I can fold that. Ammo rack in, I can do that. Ammo clip, I can do that. I've already done all that. Now the folding mechanism, the tilting mechanism is a lot easier in this one. It's just one part and it's a lot simpler, and with a bit like it looks like the pin goes all the way through. Having a look at this. So I think it's actually going to be a lot easier with this because the barrels are proud of the whole tilting mechanism. Because if we eventually see it assembled, yeah, the tilting mechanism is below this whole business here. So these are all rather large PE parts that I can cope with. We'll have to put some tiny little bits on the end, but I'll get most of this done, and that doesn't look too difficult. Then it's just the shields, and the shield is nice, one big part. Don't even have to cement that together or see that together. So I don't think building these double barrel MGs is going to be anything near as hard as it was for me to construct that single barrel 3.7. We shall see. So let's explore that now, and well, if it goes beep, you know I'm having problems. took me quite a bit of time and a couple of days, not entirely full days, but a few hours each day until eventually I managed to build this. And there she is. Hopefully it'll stay in focus. It is so tiny. If I put my finger near it, that's how big my finger is. This is not for the faint-hearted. In fact, poor old bastard cat ran out of the room fearing for her life because of some of the words that came out of my mouth. But if you can somehow get through it, it is worth it. Now, some things to watch out for if you're trying to attempt this. The pivoty part, which is there's two pieces that come up in a U. I don't know if you can see that. See, there's a U in front of see the U? Below the barrels in front there. Now, it's so hard to tell in the instructions what's going on, but that U has a hook that fits between the barrels on the top side of that plate, and then the other part sits to the side and clicks on a little bit. Now, that's not really evident. I couldn't figure that out from the instructions, and the first time I built this was an almighty mess, and I had to go and research some photos to find out what these things actually look like until I could figure that out. Once I figured that out, it was a lot easier because I was putting the right parts in the right sections. So that wasn't too bad. There's also a little shield that goes at the front here in front of that. Can you see it? There's a tiny little sight. Just there. There's a tiny sight. If I do it this way, you can see. See the little sight there? Yeah. And that sight has a little shield in front of it with a hole cut out. Well, I tried and tried. I think I spent half an hour trying to get that shield on. It because it's such a size, it's got a bit of weight, and as you try and attach it, you think, oh, it's tacked. Yeah, the CA glue's held. Well, it doesn't, and the bloody thing falls off. Anyhow, there you go. A lot of the other parts are fairly easy. Making the MGs themselves up, the guns with their the blocks with the bullets in, the magazines, that was relatively easy. That was very similar to what I'd done before. That was, that was a piece of cake. I could do that. Had no problems doing that at all. Very happy doing that. But yeah, again, the tilting mechanism is the hard bit. And I found in the end that I needed to attach a toothpick. That's a toothpick to the base, plastic base there. And that allowed me a stable platform to have the thing held while I worked on it. And then once I'd solved that sort of problem of trying to hold it in my hand and put it together and all, nothing really worked. Having a stable platform that I could apply a bit of pressure, because when you use sour glue, you need a little bit of pressure and then it cures. And that's the thing. Sort of stuff hanging in midair, wobbling, it doesn't set. Anyhow, that's done and I'm pretty happy with that. So together with the other one, the other 3.7 centimetre MG, they are looking really good. Now I've got to make another one of these, but I'm not going to attempt that in this video. All right, let's get on with doing some effects and chipping on the deck. These are the deck pieces that I had pre-painted before, and I've got a sort of pretend wood colour, and the metal parts were already painted black, which I'm going to chip down to have little rust effects and scratch effects. So what I've done is I've already hit them with some hairspray, Treasure May, and that's been drying for about 15 minutes. So we're ready now to basically airbrush on the deck colour, and then we can start doing little washing and scratching effects. We have the deck colour on now, and as you can see there's even some of the little yellow showing through. That's okay, it's not going to worry me. I didn't bother pouring on the paint to fill all the gaps because I'll run a dark wash over this anyway, and I'm going to run salt and all kinds of things. But all I want to do now is get a bit of a worn deck appearance. So I've mocked this all up to see how it looks, and we'll do a small section here just so you can see how the effect works. Well, actually, so I can see if it's even going to bloody work. So we'll work here, and we'll just activate this area with a little bit of water. We won't use much. It's been probably about 20 minutes, or maybe even close to half an hour, since I put that on. So we should be able to just give that a bit of a light rub. and we're starting to get a few chips. Oh, look at that. That's producing some interesting effects. I'll wet my brush a bit. Change to a stiffer one, so I don't want it all in the same area. And the chipping of the black is going to be pointless because the whole thing's black to start with. Well, it's a very dark greeny grey. Try another section here. Bit of water. This brush seemed to be the most effective one at getting this effect. Sort of doesn't happen, and then it comes on, and it comes on in a rush. So you've got to just got to know that's the time to stop. All I want here is a kind of scratched look. Washes and everything and salt streaks are going to give me more. Be careful not going back over what I've done. Well, there we go. That's sort of getting the effect that I want. So I'll try another brush. This one here, I'll put in some water. We'll see what happens if I try it this way. Oh, don't go back over where you've been, Harry. That tends to rip it off. Deliberately left it a while because I didn't want this to be able to chip easily. The best brush seems to be this scummy old one that I've always used. I thought I'd try a few others. Yeah, this one always seems to get me exactly what I want. Okay, well that's given me a bit of a warny, woody type effect as basically the anti-fouling colour. Remember, when I wash will go over this, so it won't be quite as contrasty, but that's kind of the look that I wanted. So I'll keep going with this. I'll get the whole thing done, and then we'll come back and we'll start adding the colours and the layers to the rest of the hull. And here's the final effect, and I've got pretty close to what I wanted. I think it's sort of working. I even found once the water had dried off a little bit, you could use toothpick and actually scratch and get some even finer marks. So I managed to join things like, especially on the panel joints, I wasn't getting a very good I was getting a demarcation. At least you would scratch up and stop, and that wouldn't look very good when it gets put together. It'd be quite obvious. So both here and here where those panels were joined for the deck, I managed to use a toothpick to actually make the scratches go right across, so that hopefully when it's glued up, you won't notice there's a joint there. I'll actually butt it together a bit tighter. Because at the moment that's just all a dry fit to see how this would look and get the scratching effect that I wanted. But anyhow, I'm very happy with that. The effect, as far as I'm concerned, is starting to work. And I believe with the layers that are going to go on afterwards, we should have something that looks very much like a real salty, weathered, worn deck on a submarine that's been, out at sea. So there we have my 3.7 centimetre and my 2 centimetre with a double barrel machine gun. They are complete, and I've just got to make another one of those 2 centimetres. But I'll do that when the cursing quotient has lowered down and Bass the cat has had therapy. No, it's not that bad. They get better the more you do them, as I've found with PE that I've done, the larger PE. Having said that, I don't know if I tackle something this small again. It really is. It's pushing the limit of what I can see. In fact, I really don't get to see the result until I do the video or take photos, because a lot of this is so small. I'm working by feel and just basically guessing that's how it goes together. And then I do the photo and blow it up and go, oh, wow, gee, that looks good. And everyone's saying, oh, you got fabulous eyesight. Really, I'm not seeing half of this. I'm just going by feel. So, look, only attempt this if you really are that keen. Otherwise, if you can get the metal barrels and put the plastic parts, that'll probably look good. Or just bugger it, put the plastic parts in. But anyhow, I've decided to go this way, and there we go. Now the deck, I put a brown wash on it, so it's really starting to get to get the effect happening of the wornness and the sort of bit of weariness and roughed upness. I think it's getting there. It still has a lot to go. I've got to basically get in. Well, we've got to have the lighter grey on the side of the hole. That's going to make things different. The conning tower's got to be the lighter grey. That's going to be the content of the next video, is getting all the painting done. But for this video, I'm quite happy. I've got the PE pretty well finished. I'll have it all done by next time. You won't have to suffer the swearing. And I should have the sides painted. Well, I'll show you how I do that. We'll do that next time. I'll basically go through adding some of the rust effects, getting the sides painted, then adding all the weathering effects, and it'll be getting very close to finish because I need to get this done before I can start that Varyak. Yes, big Russian cruiser. Got to get that done. Or got to get that started. Anyhow, there we are. There it is. Beautiful little PE and brass barreled MGs, and my deck is starting to come alive. So we'll call it quits for this video. All right, hope you enjoyed that. It's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.